Pastor John Paul Miller of Solid Rock Church is under a lot of heat after his wife was found unalived just 2 days after she filed for divorce. She had been going live on social media talking about the abuse that she has suffered.
And you are the bride of Christ. And the Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain.
And there are receipts of him admitting to hiring private investigators, putting tracking devices on her vehicles, slashing her tires, apologizing for the mistake that he made in Colombia that ruined their marriage, and even details about his current girlfriend while he was still married to Micah. Even after all this surfaced, Pastor John Paul Miller's mentor and spiritual advisor, instead of permanently relieving him of his duties as senior pastor of Solid Rock Church, he's been placed on temporary leave for a time of healing in this season, while telling Christian Post that he has no plans to permanently remove Miller from the pulpit because God has not told him to yet. What? Now in this video, I want to address that and what the Bible says specifically about church leaders that are acting in this way, and also giving you some history of Pastor John Paul Miller for you to decide if you feel like he's fit to still be preaching. So let's dive into this article, and I just want you guys to know that my heart is heavy on this. I have a heart for God's church, and I've been a leader in the church, and I get so upset when I see situations that could have totally been avoided if people just followed what the Bible told them to do regarding leadership and what leaders should look like and how they should conduct themselves. And if they're not conducting themselves in that way, they should step away. Pastor Miller's mentor and spiritual advisor, Rev. Charles Randall, recently announced to the congregants at Solid Rock that Miller had been relieved of all ministerial duties for a time of healing, counsel, guidance, pursuant to our governing instrument. Randall told Christian Post that he has no plans to permanently remove Miller from the pulpit because God has not told him to do so. I believe that there should be prayer to the Lord, but God has answered so many things in his word. So what does the Bible have to say about this? I think it's pretty crystal clear. 1 Timothy chapter 3, leaders in the church. Now this is the foundation for this whole thing. We're going to unpack statements from Pastor John Paul Miller's first wife, video from Micah, who is his second wife. And I believe by unpacking this is actually going to be healthy, and it's going to help you grow in discerning and being able to spot when people aren't operating in a biblical manner. Because some of you listening are going to be overseers, you're going to be bishops, you're going to be leaders in the church, elders, deacons, pastors. And so this is important to know, because I've seen many churches hide things and try to protect the man of God, the Lord's anointed. It's like the pastor's untouchable. But if we're looking at the Bible, in the New Testament, the pastor isn't mentioned all that often. It's the apostles and the prophets that are mentioned the most. I just want to make this clear. God's grace is abundant. God's mercy is new every morning. He is a good God, but he has laid out how things should be. And so in 1 Timothy chapter 3, this is a trustworthy saying. If someone aspires to be a church leader, he desires an honorable position. So it's an honorable position in God's sight. So a church leader must be a man whose life is above reproach. He must be faithful to his wife. Don't forget that one. He must exercise self-control, live wisely, and have a good reputation. Don't forget that one. He must enjoy having guests in his home. He must be able to teach. He must not be a heavy drinker or be violent. That one either. He must be gentle, not quarrelsome, and not love money. He must manage his own family well, having children who respect and obey him. For if a man cannot manage his own household, how can he take care of God's church? Titus chapter 1. A church leader is a manager of God's household. So he must live a blameless life. He must not be arrogant or quick-tempered. He must not be a heavy drinker, violent, or dishonest with money. Rather, he must enjoy having guests in his home, and he must love what is good. He must live wisely and be just. He must live a devout and disciplined life. He must have a strong belief in the trustworthy message he was taught. Then he will be able to encourage others with wholesome teaching and show those who oppose it where they are wrong. So you get this sense that this is an important role in God's house. To be a church leader, God doesn't take it lightly, and you shouldn't either. James chapter 3. This is the last one. Dear brothers and sisters, not many of you should become teachers in the church, for we who teach will be judged more strictly. There's so much to this that when I read these scriptures and I hear a man of God say, God has not told me yet to release him, I'm just like, what is going on? God has already made it clear that this man is unfit, but his spiritual mentor can't see it. And so I wanted to get into statements from his first wife and let you guys decide what you think. In 2017, Miller's first wife, Allison, who's the mother of his 5 children, accused him of engaging in acts with minors younger than 16 and having an addiction to prostitutes. Guys, this is crazy. Absolutely crazy. This man should not be in the pulpit. Not only did he not step down, but his leaders did nothing to help prevent this because he got far down the road before anything was ever done. And I feel like things are only being done because this became a viral story. She also alleged that Miller was caught in an affair with Micah in 2015 while she was working as their babysitter. And Micah was married to his then best friend, Jeremy Dees. So Micah was married to his best friend. He had also confessed to me and other staff members of the church that he had sexual encounters with young females from the church who were under the age of 16. Instead of removing Miller as leader, Allison stated that church officials demanded he get counsel for his sexual addiction, but he refused to get counseling, which caused many of the members to leave. When he refused, the majority of the church left the congregation, Allison wrote. In one of the latest allegations against the pastor, Miller confessed to posting a nude photo of his late wife on social media as she tried to divorce him. Now, this part was sickening because he posted a nude photo of Micah on social media for an hour, and he admitted to it in an email. So why was he still preaching? Where was his mentor? Where was his leaders? I'm sorry for putting the picture of you on the internet, he said in an apology email. It was less than an hour and immediately taken down. I was hurt that you were telling people horrible, intimate details of my past sin, and I just wanted to try to hurt you. Please forgive me. It was evil of me to do that. Now, those verses that I read you could kind of see some of those sections that are popping out at you. But there's more to come. If that wasn't bad enough, here's a video of Pastor John Paul Miller drugged out.
Huh? You okay? What's the matter? Huh? What's the matter?
Switch makes me go crazy.
Is somebody helping you?
And 2 months before Micah was found unalived, Pastor John Paul Miller left a tip to a waitress and gave her his number with a smiley face. The waitress then revealed the text messages of him asking her for a picture, calling her super hot, and then asking her for a bikini picture. The waitress's friend then warned her to stay away from him because she knows of affairs that he's already having. Now, one of the craziest details of all this, supposedly Pastor John Paul Miller, while still married to Micah, was in a relationship with Miss Skinner here. I'm not accusing her of anything, But her husband passed away by a freak accident where he was disabled and he drowned in a pool. Pastor John Paul Miller were their pastors and also did his funeral. Now you heard the statement from John Paul Miller's first wife. Now listen to what Micah had to say.
I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me, because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs, or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
So it's clear from his first wife that situation was not handled properly by leadership. And with Micah Miller, the same track record. And all I can say is I do not agree with his mentor. This man is not fit to be preaching and should step down, and I would even say permanently. Get a job in the world. God's grace doesn't run out. He could still repent of his sins, turn to God, be forgiven, but not lead in this type of capacity. So what do you think? And the purpose of this video, again, I believe that as we unpack it, maybe you could see some of the similarities in churches around you or situations that you've been in that you haven't been able to quite put your finger on. And I believe that some of the people listening to this are called to the fivefold ministry, are called to serve in some type of capacity in God's house. And it's important that there isn't spiritual abuse going on. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.